Live from the Mighty Veedverks Airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Verks Unlimited Limited, better known as Veedverks.
And I'm Julie Richardson. I'm the Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And we have with us two wonderful gentlemen from Witlon.
So we have, well, we can let you guys introduce yourselves.
Introduce themselves.
I want to tell you that I'm playing Dre Gaines in the background. And I also want to take a minute while you guys talk to share this out, because we are switching from Facebook to YouTube for our primary streaming. And so please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are watching on Facebook. And there we go. All right, cool. Oh, did I already say I'm playing Dre Gaines in the background?
Yes, you did.
All right, Dre Gaines. Check him out. Cool. All right, well, thanks for joining us, guys. Conley, you want to start?
I'm Conley Hoskins. I am the Director of Sales for Witlon. I work for Nick.
I'm Nick Murer, owner and CEO of Witlon, and thank you guys for having us. This is looking forward to having a good time today.
Witlon. I always call it Witlon.
I do too.
Witlon. Yeah. Well, so tell us, who wants to start? Tell us a little bit about. This is the loudest chair of all time.
And my phone.
And your phone's
And
going
my
off.
phone.
We just had that conversation.
I know, we just turned it all off.
We're in a movie.
Yes,
We're in a movie.
yes.
Let's
That's
see.
inappropriate. But you're telling me you bought the company in 2015. Did
Correct.
you buy it with the intention of taking it into the cannabis space?
You know, originally I did not. I actually bought the company off of an old coworker of mine to continue doing what we do in the cannabis space for the utility space. So during that transition of acquiring the company, I kind of came up with the idea of how I could help this industry and moved the company immediately into to the cannabis industry. And from that point on, trying to find proper ways to do things right and compliant and help this industry kind of find a stable footing.
Right. What do you think has been your biggest hurdle of trying to take this into the industry, a mainstream company, and adapting it?
Oh,
How many different hurdles?
Exactly. There was 120 hurdles at the very beginning, trying to figure out how to get a bank account. Was number one.
Right.
What we did and what we were going to do. And it's not even what we did; it's what we were going to do. And and so we were able to work on those types of things and get them done. And 4 years later, we're in I think a really great place of solid relationships that we can really build with.
Right. Well, the banking is the hottest topic. If you talk to anybody, and I don't care what business in the cannabis industry it is, that's the biggest hurdle for everybody is banking.
It is the foundation piece of trying to get this industry on stable ground and moving forward and be here for the long haul and not go backwards. And like Conley is actually much better at speaking about the things we do on banking and can really dig into what folks really need to understand
Right.
on that side of the business.
Right. So let's switch that over to you then, because since that's what everybody wants to hear about.
Well, so obviously there's been a real need for legitimate banking in the industry for years. And Colorado in particular has a solution that's been around for about 4 years, that actually closer to 5 years. It's Safe Harbor, and they are the most compliant, largest marijuana depositor in the country, and they are taking their products national and expanding. And so with Witlon, we were able to go in there, partner with those guys, get a bank account and stuff done and set up, and then begin to. We can't do payroll and do it legitimately without going through a legitimate, compliant bank account.
Right.
So I can't have X dispensary walk up to us with a wheelbarrow full of cash and say, "Can you pay my people?" Now we can, there's ways, and there's a lot of companies out there similar to us that are going to work those numbers and send them, have somebody create the payroll, and then they still pay their people in cash. But long and short of it is that they've got to have compliant banking, and as a member of Safe Harbor, we have our compliance requirements that we built as a company and had to have them approved before we're able to board a client and be able to do their payroll.
Nice.
Do you know any jokes?
We do not.
Nobody knows any jokes.
No jokes.
Nobody ever knows any jokes. Oh.
So we heard that, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but there's an article that's online now that supposedly, I guess it was written yesterday, saying, in fact, I'll show you. 1 second. I sound all weird because I'm off to the side. Where is this? Give me a second. There we go. So I'm seeing this, it says CBD e-commerce up in the air as Visa halts payment processing. And it's not a lot of, there's not a lot of information in this article, and it's the only, I haven't seen another like second article about it, so can't really speak for the source, but if it is what this article says, then Visa is going to, I guess they're going to not allow you to buy anything with a Visa card, any CBD with a Visa card.
Well, so let's talk about the processing differences. So the issue on the marijuana side of the business is that there is no merchant ID codes. So anything that's going to be sent through Visa and MasterCard is either got to go through an e-wallet, which some of those are compliant, some are not, or it's masked, where it's being run up as a incorrect merchant ID code. Now with CBD, they've created merchant codes for it, but because of the influx of different solutions into the marketplace, up until say last November, the rates for that were 5 to 9%. And then Elevon entered the industry, and they're a large processor in the country, and they brought the rates down to the high 2s and low 3s. Now, since November, I think about the beginning of April, they halted their processing as well, saying that they were not able to continue to do so. And so now, and they gave everybody 45 days notice, so May 15th was kind of the last day to process, and now you're seeing a lot of other solutions that are going back up into the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% rate, and I can't confirm on the Visa side of things, but they do have merchant ID codes for CBD in particular. If Visa's decided that they're not going to honor those, that remains to be seen, I guess, but that's kind of the difference between the two.
Well, it would be awful.
No, it's definitely a step in the wrong direction, that's for sure. I don't understand this continuous battle with to keep pushing CBD backwards. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, all it does is help people kind of feel a little bit better, it's coming from it's a plant-based supplement. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me why this keeps happening with a federally legal product, a derived product. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
So.
I think one of the differences between the two, though, is for compliance purposes, marijuana's been around for a while, and it's been legalized here in Colorado. Dispensaries started popping up in 2009. Denver set their rules and regulations in 2010, so they've created some guidelines around it, and the states are making everybody be very compliant. With the CBD, we passed the Farm Bill at the beginning of the year, but there's not a lot of regulations. There's not regulations for banking. The licensing is still up in the air depending on states and locations. The FDA is going to step in and start monitoring what you're able to ingest and put their guidelines together as well. And then even on the hemp farming side, you're going to see the ag department get much more involved. So I think the issue you're running into with the CBD is just the lack of regulations and uniformity that we've kind of seen come together with, most of the states have very similar marijuana laws, and they're kind of copying each other as they go forward.
No, I think that is true, and I think not everybody having the state laws in place really is what is stopping it, because even though it's federally legal, we still have to go rely back on the state to figure out how you're going to regulate this product. And here in Colorado, we've been lucky, the last 4 years of being able to see, regulation happen and be able to get our farming license and be able to get our farm sales license, be able to get our commodity handlers license, be able to do things that actually show once again what Witlon kind of has integrated into over the last 3 years from the payroll management side of the business and helping it have added value to the marijuana companies was getting into the farming side of the business, and also kind of following the same format. Like, we looked at it of what we learned in marijuana of what we needed to do to be compliant, and like, how do I get Witlon set up to follow kind of similar processes so we're ahead of the game in terms of creating this new emerging part of the cannabis industry. We got two families of cannabis. You have the marijuana cannabis side and you have your hemp cannabis side. They're still cannabis. Mm-hmm. They're still evolving, and they're both, and now we get to see kind of the evolution happen, like from Witlon's perspective, together, and it's fascinating and exciting and fun, and every day, our organization kind of gets a little bigger.
How big is it now? You don't have to answer these questions.
Well, we've got there's giant. There's separate divisions of Witlon. So we've got our payroll side where we're a Peo Model, and we're doing quite a bit of payroll, and that's growing and expanding into multiple states. We are insured to be able to work in all 50 states, and so that's helpful. We also are buying it as a large group, so we're able to save people money as a PEO. And then we've got our hemp farming side of things as well.
I totally know what this means, but PEO?
So it's a PEO model, which is a professional employment organization.
Okay.
It's a model where it's a co-employment. So the employees still work for the dispensary, the grow, the hemp farm, but they become an employee of record for Witlon. And so we're in charge of paying them. We're in charge of paying their tax return, their taxes to the state and the feds and local. And we're also cover them in our workers' comp. We also have health insurance. The other big thing is, with the IRS, they won't allow a dispensary to create a 401k program because it's cannabis and it's illegal. But if you have a PEO model that you're doing it, then you can actually use a 401k.
Wow. I admire the businesses that are at the 401k stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you know what the goal was to build this outsourced personnel department for the dispensaries and the marijuana industry, so that we could normalize their employees' life. They could get direct deposit, they could get employment verification, which is really a big deal. Trying to get a apartment, try to get a car loan, try to get a house,
right.
Just basic things, to live normally that they were being denied of.
Even to the point where we've got clients that have employees that take the paycheck to a check cashing store, and the check cashing store says, "No, this is a cannabis, name on the check. We're not going to take it." So being able to get people on to where they're direct deposit, and there's not very many banks on either side of hemp or marijuana that are able to do ACH and be able to do direct deposit in their accounts. And like you said as well, you're not going to go in there and try to get a car loan with you're going to have Witlon as your employer instead of having,
Yeah. That has
Veedverks
happened
Unlimited,
to me.
limited.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I know that my bank there was a big sign, and I decided I'm just not going to say anything. Walked into, National Bank. We no longer will do business with dispensaries. Your debit card will not work.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Well, we still have 35% of the industry employees that are unbanked, right? So, it's a little bit higher. It's similar to the restaurant industry. And you've seen prepaid payroll cards kind of roll out with those. And so that kind of gives them at least a virtual bank account that they're able to get direct deposit. It's there on Friday morning at 8 a.m. when they wake up, and they're able to bill pay and do things with that card, which it's similar to the direct deposit.
So you can load funds into the account, and it'll go, and they keep the same card. It's not like you're giving out.
It's almost like a virtual checking account, essentially.
Yeah. They start with a temporary card, and then they get a permanent one shortly thereafter. But it's similar to if you've got a Green Dot card or a Walmart prepaid card. You walk into 7-Eleven and load, but this is being loaded by direct deposit.
Got it.
And it's your paycheck.
What other big schemes are you guys working on?
Schemes. It's kind of, sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it? It's like, what can we do? Because what else can we do next?
What services can you offer? What business services can you offer the burgeoning cannabis industry? What else? what else can you do?
Well, I mean, as we said, we're moving into, we have the ability now to move into all 50 states and be able to start with, really step one of our payroll management platform, which is starting out, can we get them a compliant bank account? Are they licensed legal businesses? Can we start working through that process? But with that, we also, Conley has relationships where we're able to, help them with merchant processing and though getting them compliant programs along that line too. So we start blending in a lot of like financial services that then once again make everything easier to have a better payroll model.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's like I was telling you last night, I walked into a marketing meeting and 3 of my friends' businesses, their credit card processing is gone. And this is something we hear all the time. What can you do to help a small business grow to where that they can utilize some of these services? And they're not dealing with being shut down every time they turn around.
We don't have a size for banking. Banking is not a size related issue at this point. So really, if they want to go through the steps of the process, we cannot take them on as a customer until we can go through those steps of the process with them.
Right.
So it's really step one, and so we don't really have a size. We are interested in building lifelong kind of lasting relationships with our customers,
Right.
and so being of service to them, and so I have customers as small as 1 and customers as in the hundreds.
And there's a reason I asked you like that, because a lot of the different merchant services, they're requiring these small businesses to have a certain amount of sales each month or they don't want to do business with them.
Right.
So where is the new entrepreneur with a dream and a passion and ready to launch? Where does he go or she go?
And that really is the difficulty because of, like I said, with the Elevon shutdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
They came in, they boarded, thousands of accounts, and they were willing to take small, large, medium, it didn't matter. And they got things approved in 48 hours and people were processing. And then as they exit, then the companies that are still able to do so are cherry picking.
Mm-hmm.
Because if a bank or a processor decides I'm going to do $10 million a month
Mm-hmm.
in processing in CBD, well, they can do that with 10 clients or they can do that with 10,000 clients, depending on the size. But the amount of work for each client is the same.
Right.
So for those banks to sit there and go, well, now that everybody's lost their processing, we're going to go through and we're going to cherry pick and get the 10 or 15 or 20 best operators that are doing the most revenue, and we're going to board those guys because that's going to be the least amount of work, and we know that they're going to have a compliant program going forward.
Right.
For the smaller companies, they're kind of left out in the cold trying to figure out how do we, who will board us. Their rates are going to be higher. The new starts is where the real problem is because they're having a struggle finding any sort of processing for CBD because everybody wants to see some sort of a track record.
Right. And with the ones that don't, you can walk into their businesses and they'll say, due to high processing fees,
Right.
We're cash only.
We are cash only, or they have to, raise the price of their products.
Right.
And right now we can go to Walmart, we can go to Target, and we can see the big box people with their hemp oil, and what we need to be able to compete with that.
Right.
And we can't if we're getting astronomical fees in banking because we have a product they don't want.
Right. Agreed. And that's where the difficulty is. You're seeing the smaller companies shut out of the market.
Right. And it makes you wonder why, because banks are in the money business.
Right.
So where is their holdback coming from? Is that big pharma and big oil?
Not sure on that.
Not sure on that.
I just think I think it comes probably back to lack of regulation, fear, a little bit of fear
Mm-hmm.
still of the unknown. I mean, and the risk of what they lose by being openly public about trying to support an emerging market like
Right.
this that has been kind of pushed backwards for 100 years, 80 years. I mean, so I think we deal with something a little bit different because I think fear is still keeping folks from stepping in and taking a chance. But every day, the reality is we probably meet somebody new that we start to vet, and then
Mm-hmm.
we take through our channels of vetting, them through can they get through compliance? Will a bank take them? And And so we do that, and if we can, we find one that can go all the way through to where our banker says this is a good one, we found the right one.
Well, what are some of those things that, because I tell people all the time when they watch this show on Thursday, like especially in March, we had Rachel Arcanay on, and was an attorney. We had a farmer on. We had a transportation company on. So if you were thinking about getting into the industry, you kind of knew where you needed to start. What would be, say I came to you and I had this fabulous new idea, what would be some of the things you would counsel me on? One, there wouldn't be cannabis in the name, right?
That's step one.
Step one.
That's why
no
we're called
green
Witlon.
leaves.
That's exactly why we kept the name Witlon. To
Yeah.
be very, transparent about what we are as an organization. As what we are as a company, but very simple to kind of the market and to our financial institutions, and something that was it's a name that we could build off of, and because what I noticed as you start coming through things, as soon as you were too loud about what you were doing, you were losing important pieces that you were able to operate your business with. And
Right.
So it's like, I'm gonna keep this very simple and structured, and we're gonna build a name to do what we do in the industry, instead of this is what we are. And it's very just very open. So this made a lot more sense to me to handle it this way, and it's worked because what we've been able to do is people know who we are because
Right.
of what we do. The same as what ConocoPhillips is. It's a
Mhm.
gas station. You don't know what it is. You don't know what either one of those names are, but people do. But that was kind of the model or the idea around why we wanted to keep the name Witlon, was we're going to build something that people will know us
Right.
and what we do.
That's why we made up a word.
Made
Made up the word Veedverks, and it turns out that was a little too transparent.
Yeah.
So that's why it's Verks Unlimited.
Right.
It's made it fun, it causes us to be creatively different, I mean, it's you want to you get to see all the things that every time someone puts a big article out, the rug gets pulled from out from underneath of them all the time. Oh, we're on Target shelf. Oh, we're on here, we're on there. Boom, gets stopped.
Right.
Like, just keep doing what you're doing. Like, we're trucking along here. We've turned an economy that didn't exist into hundreds of billions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And we haven't even started yet. I mean, it's just get into the industry, do what you want to do really well, and do it really well, and just keep finding people you can help also do really well.
Right.
And when we do that, you stay here. I mean, you don't have your customers stay in business. If your customers stay in business, you stay in business.
There's a lot of fear mongering when it comes around getting started in the cannabis industry. You hear it from the capital all the way down, but you actually work on security solutions. What would you tell somebody how do you describe that?
On security solutions,
Yes.
That is an area that we have trusted relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and who we work with, and kind of refer that work over to, that are experts at what they do.
Right.
And one of the things that I think we really try and look for on a daily basis is, how do we help our customers?
Mm-hmm.
How do we help? And it doesn't matter if you're just getting in or you've been in the business since 2009. Like, how do we help our customers? And that's really always been the focus of some of the service lines and the offerings of what we do, is you need to talk to these guys because you need to get it right, or you're not going to be here, or we can't help you. And that's even the other side of it. Is like, if you can't do it right, we can't be of service to you. And
Right.
But once you help them, it's great, because then they get to move forward and stay in, and keep building their businesses, because we helped eliminate a problem. We also helped eliminate, or came up with a solution, and we're an added value to them, and we know them. All of our customers are, I think, they're pretty personal to us, and that's really the best part about it, is we're building these personal relationships that help our customers be better at what they need, if they need it.
Well, looking at it too, it kind of, what I'm seeing your company doing is keeping your customers ahead of the game. Because there's so many things that come along just in packaging. on different regulations. And if you can keep your customers ahead of the game and kind of heads up, it's not such a shock, when they have to stop and redo and reorganize.
We just help them get there faster.
Yeah.
And we know the right people, been doing it long enough, and I think the experience we've gained in a limited window, we save people years of energy, I think.
Right.
Well, especially with the banking side of it, because when we introduce somebody to the bank and we've already spoken to them and know that they can and that they're willing to meet the requirements to get an account have opened, there are so many different solutions out there that are not legitimate. Like, I mean, I talk to guys almost every single day that have paid somebody $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to help them get bank accounts done and opened that they haven't heard from in 9 months. These aggregate bank accounts that don't meet any of the compliance. There's now cryptocurrency, which I mean has always been a little bit of a question mark, and it definitely doesn't meet any of the anti-money laundering and BSA requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Because once that money goes into crypto, you can't source it, and the feds really want to see the money go from the client for the dispensary all the way through to the bank account and be able to trace that. And if it's going in 17 different directions before it gets to the bank account, then that's where the problem is. So anything that's going to go offshore, anything that's going to go, is through a mass Visa card, none of that meets the compliance.
Right.
So for us to be able to go to a brand new call, somebody that's interested in our services and say, well, do you have banking? And their answer is no. And then we can say, well, we can introduce you to the largest banking solution in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you can meet these requirements and you're willing to, and then they start that process. When we get that accomplished for them, we've built a vast amount of trust, because we weren't one of the other 98 that are trying to rip people off or charge these ridiculous fees. So then you start to build kind of a trust, and then you're helping the dispensary or grower or lab, whatever it is in the industry, to eliminate their safety concerns with having a ton of cash on hand, having guys drive around and buy money orders, and then you're also able to add value to their company, because now they can prove what their sales are, not only through their point of sale or accounting services, but they can also show it through their bank accounts.
Right.
And so that's and then in addition to that, what we talked about before, now you're gaining value with your business, you're eliminating risk, and then you are able to get your employees and get them direct deposit. There's not a Friday where you have to sit there all day long until the employees' checks will be here at 3 all day long. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's a big deal. And there's not very many people that can do direct deposit.
Right.
So that is kind of our initial building block, and that's how we're able to bring them in for the payroll side of things, and then we can kind of grow it from there.
Right.
If you were going to start a brand new business in the industry and you had, let's say $10 million, just your uncle died and gave you $10 million, what kind of business would you start?
I can't tell you that.
That's a good question. Because there's a lot. I mean, the ancillary side's, it's so expensive now to get into the license, to be a licensed grower or dispensary. Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma's been a little bit different because they were giving away licenses for, not a lot of fees. But, there's states that are requiring $2 or $3 million in liquid assets to be sitting in an account for up to a year or two. And then you've got to do your build out. So $10 million won't even really get you in and open. And then you're on this waiting list and you're spending $300,000 or $400,000 on licensing and consulting fees to get to there. So the ancillary side is definitely, the more attractive side for a new start with, and you're also competing too with a lot of these public companies going to Canada, going public, having, vast amounts of cash that are going out and acquiring, some of these smaller shops and trying to do their brand building.
So they acquire the small shops, and then what happens to these acquisitions? Are you finding that they're killing the brands and just taking their shelf space, or are they buying brands, or are they buying shelf space?
Some of both.
Yeah, I think both. I mean, I think a lot more brands really is what being,
on the cannabis side, it's definitely brands because
license locations.
yeah, because you can't be in multiple states and cross state lines, right? So a lot of these guys are smaller, but they build a nice recognition and they've got a nice brand and nice packaging, and people really like them. And then you can take that and move it to another state and do the same thing there.
Yeah.
And so that you're going to see that happening. You're also going to see, acquiring as some of these guys go public where, okay, I've got 20 dispensaries in Colorado. I'm going to go open 10 in California. And the California market obviously is 600-700% larger than what Colorado is.
I think you also find something you really want to do, and just come into the industry and do it, something you really can add value and help people. I mean, that is the most important thing I think we can do, or why this organization was set up, is to be a part of helping and be a part of the industry, because we actually cared about the industry very deeply, and just wanted to be a part of it. I mean, it's a very exciting time in life to be a part of. There's not very many times you get to be a part of emerging markets this way, and so to be a part of it and be able to apply like the things we know how to do or we learned how to do, and be able to apply it into this space and help people do what they want to do, because you got to find something that you love to do that somebody else doesn't, and then do that for them. Or enjoy to make something you want to make and get it on, get it to people that are going to love it. And so that's but $10 million, what I would do with it today.
I'd short Bear all the way down to $5. I just pulled up there's. I'd short Bear down to $5. The bottom is not in. I don't care how much they're up today. They are going down. It's gonna be. I can't believe that.
What are you looking at?
The stock chart for Bear.
Oh.
For Monsanto.
Yeah. It's funny. A long time ago, I stopped worrying about what others were doing and just kind of started worried about what we were doing. And but yeah, the market's been funny lately.
Well, they just had a lawsuit that was won by two elderly ladies, an elderly couple, who both got cancer, and the judge ruled in their favor. So said it was their Roundup they used in their yard all those years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's
Good
one
for
of
them.
many that's going to come. I kind of have an idea with what your company's like. It's when you want to build a house, say the house is like your CBD company, you're the general contractor. Because it sounds like when I did contracting, I knew what the plumber per square foot it was going to be, and you know how much your electrician's going to be. So when you're building it, so it seems like you've pulled in these other little minor industries to work together and build this house.
It is built very much like that. It's I always looked at it as a project management company first. The payroll is part of managing projects, and that was the very first kind of step of the organization, is if we can help them do this, and then we can help them with the next things that while they're focusing on what they're looking at doing forward, we're saying, oh, we could help here, or we could find this here, things along that line.
Right.
So,
And it comes down to also having the services that are approved. Like, you can't give somebody a credit card processing program for their dispensary when it's going to 17 different places, offshore, cryptocurrency, whatever else, and then comes to the bank, because the bank's going to say, well, we're not going to accept that deposit. So
Right.
going through and saying, all right, here's your options, right? And so that it works out to be a very good value add for our clients as we're bringing them onto the payroll side and getting their employees up and started. So
Yeah. Well, when you do good business with companies that do good business, that's when you,
right,
but if you were known for, oh, they set me up with a crappy banking service,
right.
well, that's not going to do you any good.
No, exactly. That's why we went with the biggest one there is. So,
Yeah.
and Safe Harbor's national expansion, I mean,
I've
I
been
think
hearing that name a lot.
they're starting to grow, and they know what they're doing, and they've got, I mean, it's by far the most compliant program that's available in the United States, and they're doing by far more deposits than anybody else. So it's here. It's been here for a long time. It's going to continue to grow. The people that run it are fantastic, but at the same time, you have to be compliant. And this isn't a walk-in with a couple of folders with some documents and I get my bank account open today. It is a process, and they want to see everything. And parent companies, partnerships, you have to be completely transparent. But at the same time, now you're not driving around with,
duffel bags full of cash.
exactly buying money orders to pay rent, and stopping at King Soopers to pay your Xcel Energy bill at $2,500 a pop. Well, imagine if you're one of these larger groups and you've got 100,000 or 200,000 square feet of indoor grow space. Your electricity bill could be upwards of $100,000. Well,
Take that to Xcel.
Right, that's 40 stops at King Soopers, because King Soopers maximum is $2,500 in cash for Xcel Energy payments.
Wow.
So you got somebody going and driving around and around and around, and you used to run into them. You'd see them, you'd go to King Soopers and you see the same guy, and then you used to go to the next King Soopers and see the same guy again doing the same thing. But it's changing it, because now you can. And the other thing too that helps is Xcel used to set you up with, if you had a bank account, you could do a draft.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's not going to be a huge deposit. I mean, some of these guys are paying $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 deposits to be able to open their bank, or they'll open their Xcel account,
Right.
because they're only cash. And so being able to pay for stuff electronically, being able to pay your vendors, because imagine too, if you're a dispensary and you're getting this edible company and this drink company and this joint company and this grower, and all of them are coming in 4 or 5 times a week to bring you product, and you're paying them all out in cash. Well, now you're doing an ACH transfer, or you're writing them a check, and it just simplifies the entire system, and it makes it a lot safer, because now those drivers aren't leaving your dispensary with $10, $15, $20, $50,000. So it's important to take the cash off the streets, because that's just a target for crime, and obviously when things are paid for in cash, that's kind of a petri dish for criminal activity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's kind of what I was getting at when I brought up the security solutions,
Right.
and that's a huge one.
What do you think is going to happen with cannabis ahead of the 2020 election? Do you think that we're going to see any federal descheduling type of regulation? Do you think that we're going to see is this a safer? Isn't it the Safer Banking
Safe Banking Act.
Safe Banking Act is. You think anything's going to happen before the next election?
So on the Safe Banking Act side of things, I've gone through and read a fair amount of it, and it really comes down and says we're not going to prosecute banks as long as they have a compliance program. Well, the issue is the compliance program part of it's expensive. Like, if you have to be compliant, you have to check all these things, it costs money. So I think that if that gets passed, you're going to see some banks enter the market, but I don't think it's going to be, Bank of America is not going to open up and start taking bank accounts tomorrow, because they don't have the program or the compliance in place. And like I said, it costs money. So the Safe Banking Act may get approved, that's still kind of up in the air before the 2020 election. I think that'll get sort of sorted out depending on who. I mean, there's 24, 25, 26 people on the Democrat side
Right.
trying to vie for that. So I mean, if it comes down to it, and Donald has to approve marijuana to win the election, I mean, he might. I doubt it, but he might. You never know.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, that it gets approved before the next time. I think it gets approved shortly after whatever happens next. I mean, we're too close. We have too many states that have state regulation. We have this more and more, and it's going to continue. The cycle's not going to go backwards, and so I just think it's going to take time, though, to actually get the next steps of the regulation in place. I don't think it's going to be something that still happens in the next 4 years that poof, everything's perfect and moving forward. I think we still got a little bit more time ahead of us to work through. I mean, the regulatory process that is going to show up, and that's really all it really is what are they going to tell us that we got to follow, and we follow it, and I just think that's going to take a little bit longer than 18 months from now. So I think it takes a little bit, but it's getting there. Every election cycle, click,
Well, and you're seeing more and more states pass it as
Yeah.
well. So as the more states go, and obviously the public's on the side of it. Of course, it seems the past while that Congress doesn't seem to care what the public's opinion is. They just do whatever they want anyway. But I think you will start to see. I think you'll see marijuana become a larger topic as you see them try to take the hemp and the CBD side and put the regulations in place for that, and then you'll start to see progress on the marijuana side of that as well. But if it gets down to a year from now and the race is looking pretty close and somebody's got to make a move, it could happen. But I really think we're probably looking at 2021 or 2022 before you'll see it federally illegal.
All presidential candidates are formally invited to call into the show. Yeah. We need to start. We need to be on their media tours.
Yes.
On their,
you should.
Yeah.
We got to fly this blimp around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, on the media. Would be...
Well,
Can we ask you one question?
Are you
That'd
going
be
to pass?
great.
Are you going to let marijuana be legal? And then we'll never get one straight answer. It'll be and then they'll go on a diatribe, and at the end of it, you'll just be confused.
Now you've branched out into hemp and hemp farming, right?
We have. We've been exposed to it for the last 4 years, and working on small projects to larger projects today, and so we have a few 100 acres now this year that we're involved in and overseeing and a part of the development and the project management group and getting these farms off the ground. And it's still R&D for us, I think, and we're having a lot of fun with it. But I really love the farming aspect of it,
Do you?
and I like being outside and I just really enjoy seeing the industry differently, from it didn't exist at
Right.
all, and we've been able to see this transformation to almost a $1 billion economy that in 4-5 years, that is really interesting to see, and to see all the entrepreneurs and see all the new products and the innovation, and to meet people with just a lot of passion about from their creams and salves and caplets and to what they're doing with hempcrete and plastics and that side of the business. And I just love hearing when people are using like parts of the plant that from the root ball all the way to the flower, and it's just amazing to be a part of. And I see this as just an opportunity every year. We grow, and every year we're going to keep growing, and we have a vision to just be just get as many acres planted year after year, and because I just believe it should be an ingredient in all of our food, from our granola bars to whatever we could use it as an ingredient, it should be there, and whatever we can use that stock for to have an offset of some kind of kind of petroleum-based product or forestry product or something, like anything that we can find an offset to grow more hemp cheaper and be able to get those products into the economy. And to me it's like a 50-year plan to think through, because it's not going to happen. It's going to take us 10 years to figure out how to get somewhere past really, I think industrial wise, past the consumption, the ingredient part of it. And so but we get to be a part of that, and we also get the dream. It's really like when as Witlon gets bigger, we get to, what do we want to dream about, and what do we want to go do? What do we want to build next? Do we want to find a good paper company to work with? Do we want to find a plastics company to work with? Do we want to what can we do to help them and be a part of it? And we're at the hemp is one of our larger sectors on the payroll side. We have seed companies through the farms that we manage their payrolls, and they weren't none of these companies were following any types of practices. They were all being paid in cash, just even though it was normal. There's farmers, they were kind of following it too. So what we've had to been lucky to do is get them, start helping them with their foundation. Like, we can help you with your payroll. we can help you. We were able to help them with their merchant processing, and that's kind of slipped backwards a little bit, but we'll find there'll be a new solution that presents itself, and then we're able to help them with finding more investment coming in and then we want to be a part of an educational process of teaching these folks what we've learned and getting it back into so more farmers can find more reasons to keep planting.
Right.
Well, we're just barely starting into the industrial side with what we're going to be able to do with the stock and everything else, because you're growing it every year. So when we can use it for paper and everything else, and it's going to cost less money. So that side you'll start to see really blow up, more so I think than the CBD. The CBD you'll start to get regulated, and you'll start to see that kind of, that side of it settle a little bit. But the other side of really, has a lot of expansion to do, and a lot of things that people haven't even thought of yet that we're going to be able to do with the hemp. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Well, you guys have any parting words of wisdom? I sound so weird because I'm sitting off on this side. Do you guys have any words of wisdom to say parting?
No, thank you. Thanks for having us on. And, I really appreciate the time, and I love it.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I had our second broadcast in a row to YouTube instead of Facebook, so we're going to keep doing this. I like the quality of the video a lot more, and I like that they didn't shut our stream down. So fantastic. Please stay tuned. We'll be back on tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. No,
really? No.
Actually, tomorrow we've got rescheduled. So.
Oh, okay. Well, then Tuesday, 10:30.
Yes.
We'll see you back for another exciting episode. But as always, I'm Travis Lippert, reminding you, if you don't get hemp here, get hemp somewhere.